Today we're going to talk about the merits of body-based training. All right, body-based training for the meditative, yogic, and magical community is something that doesn't really receive enough attention, which is odd because for better practitioners out there, regardless of what system they're from, are often referred to as physical dynamos. There's a reason for this. And as we've talked about a lot in the 60 skills curriculum, that reason is primarily the fact that body training does several things for you. And while we've talked about the value of body training a lot in the system, what we haven't really talked about is how it fits into esoteric training in general. Okay, so number one, body training powers the process. So here's the thing. We talk about vital energy and astral energy and mental energy and akashic energy and non-dual light and how you can convert between these various states of reality, all of which is true. Here's the part that gets left out. By having a physical body, you have a mechanism to power this process. So if your training is grounded in the physical, that's a lot of energy that can be harnessed for powering the process. Whereas if you take more of a mental or point of fixation type practice, for lack of a better term, or a releasing practice, there's not a whole lot to draw on there. The mental energy you have is largely what you have, and while it can be increased a little bit through a lot of effort, that level of reality by itself is relatively limited in what it can do. Because there's this odd process involving powering meditation where by taking these more physical energies, you generate incredibly large amounts of more subtle energy. It's strange, but that's the way it works. Fortunately, on the way down, if you're trying to manifest something physically, it takes an amazing amount of more subtle energy to generate something more physical. But that's not really the topic of today's discussion. So, we are on to item number 2. Item number 2 is it works fast. That whole part about the body providing this raw energy that can be converted into other things means things happen very, very, very quickly if they're performed in the physical world. So, for those of you familiar with the more doctrinaire approaches to meditation, magic, and the enlightenment process, you'll often find memories in some of the older texts about how people intentionally incarnate in the physical world because your rate of progression on the physical is much quicker than it is in the more subtle realms of action. So why is this? Well, when you don't have a physical body, you don't have breath. And without breath, you don't have your astral and vital energies that can be converted into mental, akashic, or non-dual light. So this means that when you lack a physical body, the only way that you have to generate energy is through focus. But you don't have this raw energy to draw on, so lacking this, it's really, really, really slow. Now that said, entities do seem to develop in the more subtle planes of reality. However, when talking to them about this, they likewise confirm that from their perspective, and again, time is relative, particularly in the mental realm, it would appear that not having a physical body really slows the process down. Now, of course, there's more risk associated with having a physical body, but that's not really the topic of today's discussion. Okay, going to go on to item number 3. Having a body engages the astral. So, okay, we talked about this a little bit before about how breath and astral energy have a very close relationship. A lot of meditative systems only engage reality through this mental level. And again, that can work if you give it enough time. But it takes a lot of time. By engaging the astral, you can convert that astral energy into more mental energy. In fact, you can convert it into a lot more mental energy. So things happen very, very, very quickly. Additionally, by engaging the astral, which as we've discussed many times before is a semi-physical level of reality, or perhaps a more refined version of the physical reality most people take for granted, this gives you more stuff, like we've talked about earlier in this video, to convert over into mental energy and move up that path of enlightenment that everybody seems to be so concerned with. Likewise, astral level energy can also empower your body. So it's a weird two-way relationship where you have to have a body to make the astral energy, and the astral energy can be converted into other things, but the astral energy can also power the body in some interesting ways. So this is one of the reasons why body-centric training is in fact so potent. So item number 4, and this is one that doesn't get a whole lot of attention. Body-centric training grounds you. If you've ever met someone who's truly enlightened, one of the first things people to notice about them is just how grounded they are. They are here in the here and now, in some ways more viscerally than most people walking around. If you approach the meditative process through a more mental process, such as astral wandering or the like, or mental wandering for that matter, people can be very ungrounded. Now, this isn't necessarily bad, depending upon what you're trying to do, but honestly, it seems to be a slower way of achieving these things. It also tends to result in a lot of delusion, but that's a slightly different discussion. At the end of the day, it's just very important to realize that by having a body and working with that body on a meditative or yogic level, it helps get rid of a lot of the delusion that you're working with. As Henry Rollins, the singer, once said, 200 pounds weighs 200 pounds. Likewise, training the body first in terms of the meditative process tends to do a very good job of removing delusion from the process. This doesn't get a whole lot of attention in a lot of meditative circles. And reason number 5, and we'll keep it at 5 today, why you want to engage in body-based practices is if you look at the greats in meditative circles, okay? Pythagoras, the Christ, the Buddha, Lao Tzu, all of these other kinds of people, Milarepa. These were all vigorously physical people. And that tends to get left out a lot. Now, on a practical standpoint, more energy, hey, more magic. Seems to make sense. And the body makes energy. But the greats in terms of practice were all remarkably physical people. And this should, in fact, lead people to make some conclusions that a lot of people seem to miss out on. The enlightened are truly grounded in the real world. And if you ignore this, you tend to ignore it at your peril. Additionally, you incarnate to do things. And I've talked about this a lot in this channel. This world does not seem to be a place that you incarnate in order to hang out. So, treating the world like a jailbreak probably isn't a very good idea. Now again, this can depend upon where you've incarnated, how you've lived your life, and the kinds of things that you've brought upon yourself. You make a bunch of bad decisions, well, you're probably going to pay for that. I don't really think there's a way around that. That said, the living world seems to be more of a leadership laboratory than anything else. So being physically grounded in your environment would, on the surface at least, appear to help you with that kind of development in the physical world and quite frankly is probably the reason why you're here in the first place. So these are just a few of the examples and advantages of engaging in a body-based magical meditation or esoteric practice. So if you liked the topic of today's discussion, give us a like and hit the subscribe button down below. Additionally, you can find out all you want to learn about the 60 Skills curriculum in the description portion of the text box below. And as per usual, train hard and be well.